There's been so much huge news from iRacing lately, so much so that I think it's time to dedicate a full video just to what has happened in the past week, because if you blinked, you probably missed something. So I'm gonna go over every single massive update that iRacing gave, not only in their game, but all of their huge sphere of games through iRacing Studios now, and also give my opinion on the direction of all of these announcements. And to answer the question in the title, no, I don't think so, or at least I'm not going to assume so for some reasons that I will give later on in the video. So we're not going to go exactly chronological here. I'm just going to go through the news that I think is the biggest and kind of weave our way around it. And the biggest one I personally think is this announcement of the IndyCar game. We kind of saw it coming a little bit when we picked up the license, of course, but now knowing that there is an IndyCar game coming in 2026, it's amazing for the IndyCar community. And if you watched my recent video on why I think that this NASCAR game is so important, spoiler alerts, it's because I think that having a big video game helps the fan base at the younger generations and keeping the sport alive as a whole. Well, IndyCar hasn't had a game since, actually, I don't know since when. Let's look it up. 2003? On 2004 it looks like. 2004. Probably half my audience isn't even that age. Half the audience isn't alive the last time the IndyCar released a video game. So can you imagine the damage that that has done to the sport as a whole and gaining new fans from a younger generation? Well, luckily, iRacing Studios has your back, and I think that they're going to at least release a game, unlike motorsport games. So there's not a lot to announce so far, but just that they're planning on doing it, which is great to hear. And I'm sure there will be just as much of a release schedule and all that, just like NASCAR 25 is this year, but for IndyCar next year. Another game that we didn't really see coming, iRacing Arcade. This is pretty cool. So iRacing Arcade is a reskin, you could call it, or at least a continuation of Circuit Superstar, which was a pretty cool game. I never actually got to play it, but I will definitely try out iRacing Arcade. Dude, this is some footage from Circuit Superstars. And you can see that there's not real tracks and these cars aren't licensed or anything like that. So it seems like iRacing bought the studio that made Circuit Superstar, and assuming that they're still working on this game, but now what they have here is they have the licensing for real world cars like this Porsche GT. It's a GT3, right? Ugh. Hopefully, or else I'm gonna get made fun of. And then they have real tracks too, like you saw Imola right there. So you're gonna get sort of the same iRacing experience in terms of real cars and tracks, but you'll be able to get it in an arcade setting, which is going to be really cool. So I'm actually excited for that as well. I will actually give that a huge chance and play that when it comes out. Hopefully it comes out on Steam. In fact, I know it's coming out on Steam because, oh look, they have a Steam page right here. So, you know what? I will definitely try this out when it comes out. Looks like it's a 2026 release as well, but I am excited for this game. I'm always down for fun games. I really hope that the arcade game has a good career mode, because I feel like that's more important than the actual racing itself for an arcade style game that's supposed to go on console to the masses. I really think the story and the stuff outside of the racing is just as important as the racing itself. And not only does that go for this, but it goes for NASCAR 25 as well. And we'll talk about NASCAR 25 in a bit, but that has kind of been the big deal lately with all the announcements and everything. But yeah, before we get to that, I want to go to another announcement that is for iRacing itself. So now we're back into the actual iRacing game. This one I am stoked about. This looks so cool. Cosworth and iRacing unite to redefine data analysis in sim racing. So basically, iRacing is teaming up with Cosworth to have an integrated telemetry system into iRacing that seems to be far beyond the current capabilities that iRacing has. So in iRacing there are third-party telemetry data analysis like Garage 61, VRS. iRacing still does the telemetry, but those programs do things with it. Well, if we go down here, we can see that there's a partnership between Cosworth and iRacing. It's going to be free in a new version. It's Sim Racing's first ever live remote telemetry feature powered by PI Toolbox, and then integrated data tools and educational support aimed to bridge the real world virtual racing gap. So this is going to be really cool because you can start to analyze your own sim racing like you would analyze real world racing. And we'll see in this video right here. So if we skip around a bit, look at all this data that they're able to get here. And live, so the live stuff. I wonder, so what I'm curious about is I wonder if they're going to have this enabled for NASCAR, because iRacing actually didn't allow certain things for cars that you wouldn't have those capabilities on live. But maybe they will just in the crew chief setting. So I'm curious about that, how they're going to deal with that. So here's the toolbox. There's just regular telemetry. And here, look at that. Like, I don't know what any of that means, and I'm excited to learn what any of that means. Okay, well, I probably know what these telemetry means, but what do these dots mean? Is that G-forces? What is that? So I'm excited to learn what all this stuff means, and having integrated for free into iRacing, I'm so excited for that. Really am. Next up, NASCAR 25. This release is just as exciting as it is a tease, isn't it? You feel like you get one little nibble of content for each little reveal that they do. Like there's a reveal for a reveal for an announcement for a reveal. You know, so like, just for instance here, real drivers got to try out NASCAR 25, and they show a single screenshot, and then you're like, wow, that looks good, I guess. And then you get little gameplay. You can see on somebody's screen from a video, okay, they're driving like that. And you hear all of the people who try it say, oh, it's the most realistic NASCAR game ever, and I'm super excited for that. But I do want to point out they're all on controller. So drivers, it's when they're driving on a wheel versus a controller, it sometimes might be hard to really know for sure. So I'd be a little bit cautious, but knowing that it drives good on controller, because that's something that NASCAR Ignition never did, was drive good on controller, if I remember correctly. So you get all these events. They flew some creators out to try and everything. So there's a lot of glowing reviews so far. Very excited to see where it goes. Now, I hear a couple criticisms, right? So this is what I was talking about before, where people are like, oh, iRacing is just doing too much, or you can tell that NASCAR 25 isn't going to be ready because they haven't done full gameplay reveals yet. Well, if we look at here is the College Football 26 gameplay reveal. And this was done on June 20th, 2025. And the College Football 26 release day, July 10th, 2025. So it's very common for sports games to do gameplay reveals only very shortly before the release of the actual game, because unlike regular games where you have to show off the new stuff about it, with sports games, people know what they already want to expect. So if you are doing the gameplay reveal super duper early, well, you're just revealing what people kind of already know about it. Okay, it's a racing game, and then you aren't able to make those final touches on it. So I totally get why they aren't doing the gameplay reveal right now. I would expect it probably within a month or so, maybe 3 weeks to a month. That's my best guess, but I wouldn't know. And then the other thing about NASCAR 25 is some people are saying, well, the iRacing stuff is probably being real neglected right now because of NASCAR 25. That I also don't agree with. That was an opinion on Twitter that I saw. I don't agree with that because iRacing is literally buying studios and hiring team members to work on these games. I doubt there's very much overlap between any of these teams that are working on the different games. What is going right or wrong in iRacing, the only thing it has in common with what's going right or wrong in NASCAR 25 is the leadership above it. NASCAR 25, I expect or almost even hope for it to be a NASCAR heat build upon with what iRacing can personally add to the mix. So iRacing can add some physics ideas that they like. They can add a whole new sort of world building and career mode. But if they aren't going from the NASCAR heat base, well, then they're not really utilizing what they have purchased and brought in people for to the fullest, and then it probably would be even more behind schedule. So I don't agree with that opinion at all. And I think whether iRacing has bit off more than it could chew has more to do with how they can manage all of these things at once and not if they have the actual capabilities to do so. For instance, the one thing that's slightly scaring me was in this Season 4 development blog. And if we go through, it looks like a very promising update, right? You got a bunch of highlights. You got new cars, then IndyCar NXT, which should be interesting. It should give people an easier option to drive IndyCar because IndyCar is so hard. A new Aston Martin Vantage GT3 everyone's been asking for, and then I think that is a new Mustang, a new GT4 Mustang. So that's pretty cool. That's all stuff that I think would get used and would be popular. So that's all big wins. And on the road side especially, it looks like they're doing a lot on the road side. Not a lot of new track developments, everything. what I'm a little bit worried about is the state of oval racing and iRacing. And I don't think this has anything to do with the development of NASCAR 25, to be fair. I think that this just has to do with whatever team is working on the oval side of iRacing. And there's a little bit of scariness for me here. Oh, first off, before we get to the scariness, look at the new UI. So it doesn't look like there's anything particularly new in this UI. They're just trying to go away from iRacing looking like it's from 2008, and more power to them. I'm so nostalgic and used to the old iRacing. If you asked me to keep the old iRacing UI, I would, but that's only because I'm used to it, right? Anyone who is looking to get iRacing and seeing this UI versus the old UI is like, why is that game from 2008? This game looks so much newer. So totally get it. I totally get why they're doing the UI update, but of course, I will always be partial to the nostalgic stuff. Similar with in-car UI, garage UI. It's going to take some getting used to, but it looks like the layout's going to be the same. It's just going to be the makeup on it that's going to look different. So not too worried about that at all. If they go down here, first off, Gen 4 drafting has been reworked and updated. Thank you. I did not like how draft packy those cars got. It just did not feel right, especially on the 1.5 mile tracks where in reality you would see cars spread out so much. I know a lot of people have the argument with that. Well, the cars weren't fixed, so you wouldn't know how the cars would be in a fixed setup. So that's a fair argument, but I still think the draft was just a little bit too strong. And it's interesting, and what I've heard, and I don't know if they talked about this in the dev update, but from what I've heard about the draft is that they're redoing how they're doing draft in iRacing, which I think is a step in the right direction. It's a lot more dynamic of a draft model now. It's not just how many cars are you behind, plus how close you are to the closest car. They're really working on making the draft model a little bit more fluid for different situations, so that it's a little more closer to real life and not just not to throw drafty car under the bus, because that's an amazing game, but less like drafty car physics and trying to get it closer to real life. But the thing that I'm a little bit scared of here is this oval refresh phase 2. Oval Refresh Phase 2 did not advance with the immediacy we originally intended, and we had to take a step back to assess broader implications. The team is re-engaged and eager to improve oval racing and iRacing. So that is a little bit of a bummer to me, and I know that this isn't the first time that they've taken this sort of step back from the oval refresh. With the whole oval dynamic track, they ended up taking a step back from that. With the oval refresh, they're making another step back. So it seems like they're making some progress and then not liking where they're finding it, which it seems to line up with the community's assessment of the oval refresh, where it's not making things too different, but it's not improving things in the way that they would want it to. My personal opinion on the state of oval racing is it has a lot more to do with how the real life cars are, and not just with what iRacing is doing. iRacing is constrained to what real life is doing, right? So if the next gen car in real life is crap, then iRacing, to be realistic, has to make the car crap, right? Or at least crap to drive and race in. Not necessarily crap in terms of realism and how good the car feels and all that stuff. More just how it races. So we get into a lot of these situations where there are a lot of cars that are not racing as well as they used to. But the reason is more that they are racing closer to real life, and real life isn't racing as well as it used to. So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of thing. And you can only blame iRacing for so much, and they're trying to do the oval refresh and get more of that more realistic and a different feel to the game. And personally, I do think that the game drives well. It's just more about the racing itself, which they have less control over. New dirt car as well. What is this thing called? A cross car. Never heard of that before, but that looks really fun. It's an approachable and front entry to dirt road series. Okay, so it seems like it's going to be a dirt road rookie car. That's got to be the first dirt road car in forever. So that's huge for all you guys that do dirt road. I was going to make a joke, say for the two of you guys that do it. So that kind of tells you the state of dirt road. But maybe having a car that looks potentially to be a lot of fun would be something that resurrects that discipline a little bit more. So a little more projects here, but overall with this dev blog, it seems like overall they're working on a lot in iRacing, very sparse on the oval side, which is what I personally care about, but not what everyone cares about. But in terms of road, in terms of of overhauling how iRacing looks, they're doing a heck of a lot here. So can you believe how much news there is in iRacing in the past 7 to 10 days? Just absolutely nuts. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Is iRacing biting off more than they can chew, or do you think that they got this handled and what they're going to be working on is it's going to be building into a good future in racing gaming? All right, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all on the track.